What is up, everybody? We are about 1 week away from the European International Championships, our first international championships since the pandemic has happened, and one of our big four, or I guess five tournaments of the Pokemon season. Now, for those of you at home who don't know what an international championship is, Pokemon took away nationals about back in 2016, and in the 2017 season, we added something called the International Championships, held in North America, Latin America, Oceania, and Europe, are four major regions where players can go and compete. And we basically get these like four mini world championships across the world that get to kind of showcase some of our top players, showcase some of our top talent, and kind of see who comes out on top. And these events have the level of prestige, that is second only to the World Championships, more or less. And so, in about a week, myself and a lot of other top players will be heading to Frankfurt, Germany, to kind of throw everything we have against each other and see who comes out on top. So, with all that being said, today it's the return of my like little meta preview, meta breakdown, kind of what are our top X decks, what is there to beat, how am I preparing specifically for Frankfurt, what is my thought process heading in. So that's what we're going to talk about today. As a player at home, like you're probably thinking, how do I prepare for tournaments of this nature? And the biggest thing is NAIC is probably going to be the one, North American Internationals is probably going to be the one that you probably attend as your first one if you're a newer player and you're not heading to Frankfurt, because I assume that a lot of you are not heading to Frankfurt. But yeah, that being said, if you guys do enjoy the content, please like, please subscribe. I have a special guest coming on this week. They're being a little bit lazy with getting back to me on timings, but if they can get back to me sooner than later, I should have a very special guest coming on later this week to talk to you guys about international championships as well. But that being said, let's jump into my preparation and my top decks, I guess, for the tournament. So heading into it internationals, the format is a little bit different compared to at regionals. It's very similar. We do still play 9 rounds of Swiss. I guess if we hit that number, 9 rounds of Swiss on day 1 into a 5 to 6 round of Swiss day 2. And then top 8 and top 4 will be played on day 2 as well. And then we bleed into a finals on Sunday. And Sunday is just finals day, which means it's basically just like a similar structure, but we start play on Friday as opposed to Saturday like we would for regionals. Making it a little bit more spread out across the 3 days. By little, it's just literally finals. But that finals prep could really be very important that night before. So that doesn't obviously impact how I change, how I prepare, whatever, etc., etc. So going into a regionals, or like an IC, sorry, I look at the big three, or what I consider to be the big three in every format. And the big three for me are Mew Genesect, I guess Fusion Strike as an archetype, or Mew, Arceus Inteleon / Arceus Inteleon variants, mostly blanketed by the Arceus Inteleon Path to the Peak Healing Sharon's Care version, similar to what I played over in Salt Lake City, similar to what won in Sao Paulo. And then the third off is, I think, Rapid Strike Malamar in this format, just because Rapid Strike Malamar has an ease of access to a deck and has a lower skill ceiling than the other two, in my personal opinion. And I think that makes it very scary, because if a player can pick up the nuances of that deck, it becomes something that can very easily 9-0 like it did over in Liverpool in the hands of Joe. So those are my top 3 realistically heading into the tournament. And in no particular order, I mean, I think Arceus and Mew are 1 and 2 respectively to beat as well as to play. And then Rapid Strike Malamar is it's a deep dropped third, but it is a deep drop and it is third. And then after that, I think you have to respect decks like Gengar. I think is number 4. Sorry. In a vacuum, I think Gengar is the 4th best deck, and the 5th is the like rapid Urshi deck that Limitless, like Robin, they brought. But that's kind of like a lower 5, just because I think that it's a very, very difficult deck to play. And I don't expect a lot of players to kind of have the foresight or confidence to really bring a deck like that, because you do have to play it very, very well, and it requires a lot of thinking and practice over the course of the time. But if there are players who are going to bring it to the international championships, they have to be very, very confident in themselves, and I'm sure there'll be a handful. Maybe the Limitless guys bring it again with some changes, some iterations. Like, they've already put the time in, they've already put the practice in, so they could probably find those tweaks and that confidence to kind of bring it back into the format. Now, after that, I think number 6 is probably like Jolteon. I don't really want to say Jolteon is a good deck still, but I think Jolteon is in a position to make something happen if Manaphy does not show up. I don't think Manaphy will show up in particular because I think it's just not a good card, but Jolteon can still like cheese people with Path Morny. That's kind of how it's always won games. Yeah. 7 is Suicune Ludicolo because I think Suicune Ludicolo is still a very strong deck. And after Finn's second place performance, it did prove that the deck can stand its own against the entire metagame. Number 8 is the just straight Dark Inteleon without Arceus, without birds, like any of that, just Galarian, Moltres, Hoopa, like that style deck. Like it's still a deck that you need to respect, I think, moving forward. Like you can't just ignore it completely. And it does exist, which is something that you should keep an eye out for. I had another deck I wanted to talk about as number 9, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. Arceus Duraludon. There it is. Yeah, I think Arceus Duraludon is also still in a position. And I think it's more different than other Arceus variants that I would classify it as its own category because Duraludon is just such a different card that you have to play around. And so that kind of goes into its own category of a deck that you need to deal with, a deck that you need to beat, a deck you need to tech for. Because like if you're playing only Special Energy and you don't play Path, then you're probably in a lot of trouble against this Duraludon deck in general. And then for number 10, I think that Whimsicott actually slots into here. After its top 8 performance in Sao Paulo, I think people will try it. I think people realize that with a couple of Hammerheads going your way, a couple of Fan of Waves early going your way, you could win the game just purely by sticking someone because everything just kind of went your way. And when a deck has that kind of a swing potential, it's hard to imagine that someone in their testing does not just like high roll everything and feel really comfortable with the deck and move forward with it. Now that being said, how do I prepare? Basically, I have been grinding matchups. I think any deck you want to play, you have to have 2 favorable, if not very favorable matchups of your top 3, whatever top 3 you decide are your top 3 to counter. And that you have to think about I think about day 1 and day 2 as a whole. I think about in my 14 rounds, what am I going to play against? Is it presumptuous to assume that I'm going to make day 2? Absolutely it is. But if I'm thinking about winning the tournament as opposed to just getting points or just making day 2, I have to have that mindset. I have to think about what are players like Azul? What are players like Tord? What are those players going to be bringing to the table? What do I have to beat to win the tournament? And that's where my thing comes in. I have to be able to beat those top 3 decks, and then I have to think about what they could be playing and go one step further. But for people at home that are just looking to make their first day 2, looking to get those points, looking to score a Worlds invite, you should be thinking about in your 9 rounds in day 1, what do you expect to play? I would say a good estimate is 3 to 4 maybe Mew, 3 to 4 maybe Arceus. I'm just guesstimating, right? You could probably hit 0, you could probably hit 1, you could probably hit 9. All 9 could be Mew. You don't know what's going to happen. But you have to kind of estimate for those matchups. And we know Arceus and we know Mew are popular in their own respective rights. So you could expect to hit maybe 6 decks combined of those 2 decks. If you throw in Malamar into that mix, you could realistically say all 9 of my rounds could be covered by all 3. But then there's always those like niche rounds where it's like, do I think I'm going to hit Jolteon in a tournament? 0 to 1. Like when I think about it, it's 0 to 1. Do I think I'm going to hit the Limitless Urshifu deck? 0 to 1. And then do I think someone's going to play it correctly? No, but I'm not going to bank on someone misplaying against me to win a set. Like I have to assume in my testing that the other person will play perfectly or play correctly and plan for that realistically as opposed to planning for someone across the table making mistakes. And if they do make mistakes, well, it is what it is, you know? Like that's kind of the beauty of it all because like getting good practice is practice. Now testing matchups with friends or whatever, you should always like let like take backs happen, kind of talk things backwards and work with that in that route. And that's like will help you grow as a player, help you grow through matchups and kind of figure out all the lines that you need to do in certain matchups. Like what if X had happened instead of this happening? How would you have responded? How would I have responded? And like that'll just get that discourse and that back and forth will help you grow as players, help you understand the matchup. So when you see those scenarios in the tournament, that'll help. This is basically free coaching for a lot of you guys. Like if you guys are still watching at this point in the video, this is like similarly to free coaching. And there's a lot of good advice that you guys can take and a lot of good advice that I learned from as well. And I'm sure other content creators and other top players will agree with me in terms of like how to test and how to practice. And if you're going into a tournament, don't flip-flop your deck last minute. Be confident with your choice unless you're really crazy like me sometimes. But be confident in your deck choice and kind of what you've been practicing. And then finally, I think just, yeah, like I said, confidence, have faith in your prep, and then trust in yourself. Like I know it sounds like confidence, but no, just trust in yourself. even if a round becomes a loss, don't like mentally boom in a tournament, or like mentally give up in testing. Like I've been there, I've done that, I've given up. Like it's not a good look. Just kind of understand your limitations, understand like your preparation, and if you need a day off or an evening off, take it. It just sucks when that evening off might have to be the day before the tournament because you're losing every game. So be confident though. Like go back to your roots and like play what you're playing, play what you've been playing, play what's been winning, that kind of stuff. So obviously, thank you guys so much for the support. As always, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And if you guys have any recommendations for me before I leave for EUIC, please leave them in the comments below. What to film. I can get some filming done ahead of time, so I will have content up for everybody before I leave, because I will be gone for a full week starting next Tuesday all the way to Monday, and I don't think I'll have any content uploaded. I won't be doing any videos during that time, like any new videos. So if there's anything you guys want me to do ahead of time, like reacts, deck profiles, anything before I leave, please let me know. I will get that done as I can this weekend because I am home all weekend. And I would like to get stuff done and pack and laundry and whatever, all the stuff that I need to do for my flight on Monday evening. So thank you guys so much. I will see you guys at EUIC and hope to make you guys proud.